You already had started it.
All right, it is being recorded.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to call to order the Northeast Kingdom Waste Management District Board of Supervisors meeting Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 at 6:42 in the evening. Any updates to the agenda? Hearing none. Going to number 3, approval of the minutes of May 12th, 2026.
Make a motion to approve them.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none. Put this to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the approval of the minutes of May 12th, 2026, say aye.
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 Opposed? So passes. Moving on to number 4, fee and operational change proposals, which includes a surcharge fee, household hazardous waste, regional household hazardous waste events, and bulky event fee. And for this, I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Chris Thompson.
All right, thank you, Walt. So I just wanted to recap a little bit of how we got to this point. So in a nutshell, the district's revenue was down significantly at the end of 2025 and in the first 4 to 5 months of 2026. That the decrease is primarily a drastic reduction in the surcharge income that the district gets. There's a $29.50 surcharge placed on every ton of trash that's generated in the district, and that surcharge revenue makes up about 2/3 of the district's revenues. So when that revenue dipped, it had a quite a drastic and immediate impact on the finances of the district. So at our May meeting, the board voted to make a couple changes to address the shortfall and to, I think, begin a process of trying to make our individual programs that we do as a district at least revenue neutral. So if you recall, we were losing money on our tire program a few months ago. And so the board made an upward adjustment in the price of tires to try to at least even out, have as much money coming in as it costs us to do the tire program. And so in May, a couple additional changes were made by the board. The first one was to begin charging for disposal of Freon containing appliances, such as refrigerators and freezers, air conditioners, dehumidifiers. We were the only district in the state that was not charging people to get rid of those items. Each of those items that contains Freon, the district has a cost. We have to pay a contractor to remove the Freon from those items. And that's according to federal and state law that mandates that no Freon can be placed into a landfill. So when people bring in an appliance, we have to pay to have that Freon removed. We also have handling fees for final disposal of those appliances. And so the district put a charge of $15 for larger appliances like freezers and fridges, and $5 for air conditioners and dehumidifiers. And as far as feedback from the public, we take in quite a few appliances here at the Lindenville facility, and we have had very little pushback from folks. Most people pay it. I'm not saying gladly, but they pay it, and they actually expect a fee Some people that have been bringing in stuff for a long time say, well, I figured you'd get to this point you'd get here at some point. And they've always been surprised that it was completely free. But, so I think that change went over well. We did work with some towns that take those items, some of the transfer station and recycling facilities, their attendants or volunteers haven't had to handle cash before. And so this was a kind of a new thing that they had to figure out, how are we going to get residents to pay the $15? So we're working with individual towns to try to smooth that process, and I think it's been going well. The other change that the board made at the May meeting was to approve an increase in stop fees. So these are the fees that we charge towns when our trucks go to your town facility and pick up the recycling. So the fee was $55 per stop, and that increased to $65. And the fee to pick up recycling at schools went from $37 to $42. And those were the changes made at the May meeting. I hope you've had a chance to look at your packet that was sent out for this meeting. It details what I think are some possible next steps that the board can take to continue this process of working on the district's finances and kind of set us up for a longer term success for each of the critical programs that we want to continue to provide to the public. But we really feel like we need to make a lot of these programs cost neutral so that we can charge at least what it's costing the district to run these programs. I see Ken has a question.
Yeah, this amount of money we're losing because there's less trash being picked up. Whenever I see changes in details like that, I like to know, have we verified that that is really the truth? As I understand it, when a truck comes into a transfer station, they say what town they're coming from. I assume any good businessman would say he's coming from a town which charges the least for him, so he makes the most money. Have we been able to validate that there really is a decrease in the amount of materials coming in?
I've heard it from other waste district personnel in other parts of the state, and I think Nick has also confirmed, as far as Myers is concerned, Myers is likely the second biggest hauler in the state behind Casella, and they've seen a drop in tonnage as well. So I think we can say with good confidence that it's an actuality. It's not just a possibility.
Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, if you can refer to your packet, we can work through these. I tried to keep them as simple and to the point as possible. Before we get into them, I do want to say that I met with the executive board a couple weeks ago after taking a first shot at putting some of these proposals together. The executive board was supportive of these changes. And so I'm not saying that, they're a rubber stamp, but I'm saying that it has been passed by them. And I've kind of refined these proposals after getting their input. But I fully expect that you'll have questions and comments, and we can work through these. Michael has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I got a question. Like down here in Groton, we've got a few haulers, right? And I know like there's two that definitely bring the trash to New Hampshire. So does the district get anything when like dumpster goes off to New Hampshire, or
Yeah, and there's also, not only does the district get it, but the state also gets a cut. It's called, there's a certain fee. I think they charge, the state gets $6 a ton when trash leaves the state.
gotcha.
So yeah, any trash that's generated within the district is subject to the surcharge.
Thank you.
Yep. So the first, I broke these into two broad categories: options to increase revenues and options to reduce costs. Because I think, Steve, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the options to increase revenue as printed in our packet.
I second that.
Now we can have discussion pertaining to the motion.
All right.
This is Adam from Sutton. Are we going to vote on all three of the options? Not all three, all of the options, the ones to increase revenue and reduce costs right now?
I think the motion was for to allow discussion on the revenue side. Is that right, Steve?
That is correct.
Thank you. Do you mind if I go first?
No. Would you like me to just introduce them, or do you want to get right into the questions? It's up to you.
I've read them. I'm ready to go, but if somebody else prefers that you introduce them, I'm fine with that.
I think you should introduce them in case somebody doesn't have a packet
Okay.
in front of them. They can at least hear what's going on.
Okay, good point. Walt said if there might be someone who didn't get the packet or wasn't able to look at it.
I did not get the packet. I think Irene did.
Okay.
And so I have not read it. But if you just read the things, I will
Yep.
understand.
Okay.
Do you mind if we do them one at a time? You read it and then we discuss it, or do you prefer to do them all?
No, we can, well, why don't we just do number one, the surcharge fee?
Thank you.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the current surcharge fee is $29.50 per ton. That was implemented in January of 2025, about a year and a half ago. Obviously, we know what has happened to not only our revenues, but we know what costs have done as well for any business over that period of time. So you'll see further down, I have a proposed increase and a proposed implementation date. Those are also things that the board can decide whether they think that's realistic or propose a change. I structured the implementation date on each of these items based on what I thought we would want to have an immediate impact or what I thought we could delay on. So as far as the surcharge fee, I discussed with the executive board an increase of $2. The last increase in January of 2025 was $2.75. And this one is a $2 proposal and then an implementation date of July 1. I'll take if anyone has specific questions on that.
I have a question.
Okay, hold on.
July, that gives time enough for everybody to get it?
To notify haulers and yes, yeah. Because if this passes tonight, we would begin immediate outreach tomorrow. Essentially, we don't want to surprise anyone on the last day of June with this, so yeah.
So Chris, this is Jake. Yes. I'm wondering, did you crunch these numbers? Is that $2 increase? did you crunch that to see how that will yield, based on an estimated tonnage? Is it going to really do enough for what we need? I hate to nickel and dime these people. If $2 is realistic, I'm supportive of that. If it's not enough, I think we should have a conversation. So, I'm just looking at what we did last month. Those charges increased by a little over 10%. I think this is only about a 6% increase. The $2, if my math is somewhere near right. So that's my question. Are we doing enough, or are we going to have to talk to them again in another 3 or 4 months to say that we need to raise it again?
Well, the school of thought here was that we will have a new budget and a new proposed budget later this year. That is another opportunity to do something depending on how the district's finances look. Being that this would be somewhat short notice, I think, and unexpected. Most in the past, these surcharge increases have been built into a new budget, but I don't feel like we can wait to do that. And so this was the increase that seemed like a realistic amount to get us to our new budget year. And I'm not saying it would be the final increase, but it's what kind of the executive board had hashed over and thought was realistic and acceptable to the hauler community and to the board. It's hard to what I did try to emphasize was when tonnage is down, it's hard to make a big impact unless you're really to skyrocket the surcharge, which I don't really think would be palatable to many people. So yeah, I think we're trying to meet an immediate need, and then we can reassess when we do our budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So what on the base tonnage that we have now? What does $2 do for you?
It's about 3,000 a month would be, well, depending on where that tonnage goes, it's never really static in any one month, month to month, but
just a
yeah,
average.
yeah, about 3,000 a month would be the change at the current tonnage. And then yeah, we wanted to reassess going forward and not, we don't want to punish haulers. That isn't,
I understand.
and they need to, they also have to respond to their customers as well.
Because all of their fuel costs
Yeah,
went up just like everybody else's.
I know. Yeah. Adam?
Yeah, that was my question too, was whether there was room to increase this more so it was less painful later on. But with the short notice and the increased cost of the haulers, I understand not putting them under the gun too, because they have to go back to their clients. So my only comment was if there's room to increase this more, I would rather do it now. But if $2 is the limit, I'm for it.
Ken?
Do we know what the surcharge is for our surrounding districts?
Yep, I have that right here. I figured you'd ask that.
You're a good man.
So Addison County Waste District is $35 a ton. Central Vermont is 33. Lamoille is 23. Chittenden is 40. Northwest Vermont is 25.50, and we're currently at 29.50. So we're in the middle. When I looked into this, the districts that are quite a bit lower, like Lamoille's 23, Northwest 2550. They have other revenue streams where, as I've mentioned, and I think it's sunk into everyone by now, we have very little revenue other than the surcharge, to work with. So we do have some state grants and some minor income from tires and batteries and stuff, but other districts are less reliant. The districts that are less reliant on the surcharge, have a lower surcharge price, and they also have much higher tonnage volumes, so that at Lamoille at 23, if they have 4 or 5 times the volume of trash that we do, they don't have to have a high surcharge because they're making it up by quantity. But we're not in that boat. We have a large district, we have the largest geographic district, but as far as population, we're kind of middle of the road on that as far as districts go. Adam?
Do we risk losing revenue if our price is too high?
If it was really high, then a hauler would have to say, well, legally, if the trash is generated in the district is entitled to the surcharge. You would have people that could try to cheat it. If we were too high, they could go to a district and haul it further to a district where the surcharge is lower, but then they would have to do the math about their employee time and their fuel costs to do that. I'm not saying it's not happening, but they'd have to calculate, is it worth a few dollars less of a surcharge if they went to Central Vermont or let's say Lamoille? Maybe depending on where it's being hauled from in our district, it's not that far to bring it. Yep.
And I have a question, a comment on that. If you increased it drastically, then the haulers would increase the fees that they're charging their customers. The customers would then, if they wanted to, go to the select board, and the select board would ultimately have a role in telling their supervisor how to vote for the next budget. So we can shoot ourselves in the foot by making it too high, and our budget doesn't get passed, even though it's not done by popular vote anymore, but by the Board of Supervisors. If the town tells the Board of Supervisors not to vote for the budget, there's always that possibility.
On that note, when I went and talked to the Board of or the Select Board on the last increases, they were fully understanding of the fact that we weren't charging anything, and losing money is not a good way to do business. So they knew, and they're business people. They understand that you can't keep running a business and be running it in the red. That's it's not feasible to do that.
Yeah, and I think the more this is talked about in the press and among people in our towns, I'm getting the sense that people are understanding that we're a unique entity, that we're filling a role to provide services that in most cases, no other businesses are providing, and it's for a public benefit. And if residents of our towns want those services to continue to exist, I think most people are willing to help and chip in. And it's a slow education process, but I think we're making progress. And we've had quite a bit of good feedback here when people really couldn't believe before what they were getting for free. And when they've been asked to pay a little bit towards keeping things going, most people have been in agreement that we have to do what we have to do to continue to provide those services.
Are there any more comments on the surcharge fee increase?
Just one final thing. Can we vote on these individually, or do you guys want to do it as a packet?
Yeah,
I'm all
think
for
we
this
should
one.
vote- I think we should vote on them individually, yes. So I would like to call it to a vote. All those in favor of increasing the proposed trash surcharge fee an additional $2 a ton, which would bring it to $31.50. Implementation date of July 1st, 2026. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passes.
Okay, item 2 on the increased revenue side of things was an attempt to generate some revenue and recapture some of the cost that that's incurred on the district with our household hazardous waste program. So we're the only district in the state that has not been charging anything for residents to dispose of household hazardous wastes. And for example, these are your average, if you look under your sink, we get a lot of that stuff in. We get bleaches, pool chemicals, paints, polyurethanes, mixed gas, old gas, oil mixed with water. We get all kinds of stuff in that people want to dispose of in the proper way, which is admirable, and it's really what we want. So we want to continue this program, but the cost to dispose of these items is extremely expensive. So most of the items we pack into drums. So it's let's say the hazardous liquids such as old mixed gas or old fuel are over $4 a gallon that the district has to pay a private contractor to come and pick these items up. And you could imagine if we're not charging anything, I had a guy come in today with 15 gallons. He had 3 5-gallon jugs of diesel fuel that had been in his garage for, he said, 8 to 10 years. So we accepted those items, at no charge. And as I'm pouring them into the drums, I'm thinking, okay, that gallon, $4.60, what is it? $4.64 is what it's going to cost us. And that's not counting my time or the barrels or the hazardous explosion-proof building we have to have. So, that guy got about probably $60 or $75 worth of services for no fee. And we obviously don't want him dumping that in the woods. But we also have to stay in business and recapture at least some of these costs. So this proposal, if you can see the picture there, I tried to come up with a very simple way to charge people that would be easy to explain on the phone, easy to show someone in person, easy for our employees when we're at a remote event. If we're up in Westfield in the parking lot of the recycling center collecting this stuff, we need to be able to simply show people you can get rid of this much stuff for this cost. So I had proposed, everyone knows what the standard recycling bin looks like. I think just about everyone in our district would know what that looks like. So as a starting point for discussion, I put a price tag of $10. Someone can fill the entire bin with hazardous chemicals and hand it to us for $10. And that will cover some of our disposal costs. As far as the hazardous liquids, those, as I mentioned, are $4.64 a gallon to dispose of. And as a starting point, I have a $1 a gallon. Just again, once we have these fees in place, then we can increase them over time as needed. But I think getting folks used to paying is the bar, is the hurdle to get past when people have had disposal for free for so long. So I really wanted to price that low, just as a point so people understand, okay, it's not free. And then we can work on that price over time. And those I would like to implement June 15th, which would be next week. We take at the Lindenville facility here, we have every Tuesday and Thursday, all summer long from May to October, we are open on the hour, every hour. We have appointments that people bring in their hazardous waste. And so I would like to start kind of capturing some of that income as soon as possible. And so $10 a bin and $1 a gallon is kind of the starting point for our discussion. Do you want to do the motion and second thing again on this to?
Sure, I'd like to hear a motion to propose that a standard recycling tote filled or whatever in it for $10, and for any flammable liquid be $1 a gallon.
I'll so move.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Adam?
I apologize for monopolizing all the discussion here.
It's okay.
I have quite a bit to say on this one, or questions, because I think making sure that people properly dispose of household hazardous waste is a true priority. And if it is a difficult or expensive thing for people to do, they'll just dump it out wherever and not think twice about it, thinking that it's just a small amount, it's just a gallon, it's a few gallons. I think it's really important to make it easy for people to dispose of household hazardous waste. That being said, I have a few questions. The first one would be, are there other ways for people to dispose of this? For example, is there the state of Vermont, does it require a paint program for paint retailers to take back paint and urethane and that sort of thing that would keep it out of our program?
So let me address that one first. We would not be charging for architectural paint that goes on paint or stain or polyurethane, like deck treatment and stuff like that. Those are under the paint care program. And other than staff time, we don't have any disposal costs to get rid of latex or oil paint. So this would not apply to paint.
Okay.
And as far as charging, the other waste districts do charge, and they also do it by quantity. And so I have not heard negative feedback about increased dumping or anything like that. And they've had fee structure in place for quite a few years. So we wouldn't be the first, we would be the last to do this.
That actually answers a lot for me. I think the final thing is for remote waste collection programs, how are you going to collect the fees at those places?
So it wouldn't be any different than we do collect fees, like when we attend a bulky event and someone brings tires, we charge them our tire price. And we've had a couple bulky events since our May meeting, and we have collected, our driver that is there on site has collected the $15 or the $5 for the free on appliances. So we would collect that on site when the person, brings in their hazardous waste at a remote event, or if they bring it here, we'll charge them.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Ken?
Yeah, many of the community dinners and concerts and things I go to, they often accept contributions. I'm wondering if, along with charging this, keep your charge going, there's a sign there. Disposing of this flammable liquid would really cost us $4.64. Contributions are acceptable. And on the other side, I'm wondering if we also had a sign, if you find these charges are too hard, we have a sliding scale. Just ask us to waive or deal with your fee. This might help some people if we are on our side worried that they will walk away if they can't afford it. If you had a sign there, we can waive this fee if you explain to us that you need that. Two ideas there.
So Ken, I appreciate your sensitivity to people on especially fixed incomes and stuff like that. But when you're dealing one-on-one with people as a customer and you have several employees that might be dealing with that person, I've tried to standardize this and keep it as simple as possible for both customers at the Lindenville facility and also when we have to do a remote event in a parking lot. I think I would shy away from having multiple people making judgment calls about, are you too poor to pay full price? I mean, I think it's it's not
Subjective.
Yeah, it's too subjective. I think we wouldn't be able to apply those things in a standardized way, which I really think we need to try to treat people the same. That's just my opinion. I think we need to keep it consistent and simple.
Yes.
Do you know what the other districts are charging?
I can't rattle off all the pricing, but I know some of the other districts were charging, like if you have up to 10 gallons, it's $10. If you have up to 20 gallons, it's 20. I mean,
So we'd be
they have,
comparable or on the lower end.
I think so. Yeah, we'd certainly be on the lower end. But their prices are structured by volume. So the more you bring, the more you pay. Yeah. Adam?
I agree that the pricing really needs to be simple and consistent, so you don't get people saying, hey, I brought this much and they brought that much and they paid less than me. I think that's really important that it's consistent. The other part of it, is there a volume difference between how much flammable liquid we take in versus those other items that are just household hazardous waste? Is there a significant difference in the volume of either one that we take in, whereas adjusting the pricing based on that would make sense?
I guess I don't completely understand your question about, can you restate it?
If most of the stuff that comes in is flammable liquid that you're going to get $1 a gallon for, versus household cleaners, which are a small portion of it, does it make sense to charge more for the flammable liquid, or if you could even do that, and lower the cost on the things that you take less in, or does that just not even make sense? It just makes it more complicated.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, volume wise, the thing we take in the most is paint, which, again, we don't get charged to have that paint picked up. It's hard for me to, I would say flammable liquids is probably the next, by volume, the next highest thing that we accept. But again, I think we need to keep it simple because there's also different pricing for disposal of each of those things. So, you know, like I have to put pesticides and fertilizers and insecticides all into one drum, 55-gallon drum. And then I'm charged, you know, it's 200 and some dollars for the drum. So there's different disposal costs for the different chemicals. So I think we need to focus on just keeping it simple. You know, to get rid of acids is a certain price. Oxidizers, you know, pool chemicals, those are a completely different price. I think it would just get too complicated to try to compare disposal costs. I think we need to keep it flat and at least, and again, I think this is a start and it allows us to see, okay, what is the revenue for the remainder of the hazardous waste collection period? And then this can be adjusted, you know, in the future, but I think it's a starting point that doesn't, it minimizes, I think, the shock on the consumer as well. I don't think, you know, when you think of the prices, if you filled a bin at the supermarket with these items, you know, you're probably $50 or $75 or $100 in cleansers and all that stuff. And I think we're going to see, just like with the refrigerators, when someone just paid $1,000 at Lowe's for their fridge, and we say $15 to get rid of the old one, there's really not a lot of shock there. And I think people will realize that, you know what, if I want to get rid of this, there's a cost to it because they have to do something with it. You know, we're not dumping it somewhere for free.
I agree. And keeping it simple and consistent helps on the administrative side too. So if it's easier on both sides, then that seems like a win. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to get, you know, our staff accustomed to this as well, and then we can make adjustments in the future. Gene?
This every weekend. And you're gonna find somebody's gonna whine about something, but I really know people I deal with, and then I think they'd be glad to just to get rid of what cost it.
Yeah.
And they understand that. And let's say you're always going to get somebody.
Yeah, most people I deal with every Tuesday and Thursday, they're very thankful that there's a place that they can get rid of this stuff. A lot of people are cleaning out, you know, a parent's house, or they have a house closing. They got to get their garage emptied of all these chemicals and they don't know what to do with them. And they're thrilled that there is a place, an easy place. They can load up their vehicle. They can bring it to us. It's very quick. They know that the chemicals are being handled properly and disposed of properly. I think that's the most important thing to most people. It's not, let me hand you this for free. It's more, I'm so glad I found a place I can actually put all these things that I had nowhere else. I've got no other option. So, yep.
Okay. You'll get that part to people who are environmentally concerned. Okay. There's a few out there that are not.
Yep.
You gotta start somewhere, and if it's not too high and the sticker shock isn't too bad, you'll be accepted. If you try to go too wild, then you're gonna be pushing against the brick wall because they won't accept that.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, I think even there's people who will do the wrong thing even if it's free. I think people, a lot of, there's people that will just, it's more convenient for me to dump this in my trash or down the drain. They're going to do it regardless of the price, I think. Just like we continue to find tires in the woods. It's not because the tire was $3 or $5 to get rid of. I think it's because it was the easiest thing to do. You know, so I would hesitate to make policy or set fees on the outlaw, just based on what they're gonna do.
No,
You know, I think most people want to do the right thing and,
well, it's majority,
yeah,
but like I said, it's a start and it will give people get acclimated. My other thing would be is if we go for this, make a poster out of this to put in the recycling centers
mhm,
and make this big enough and send it all to the town clerk's offices so that they can hang it on the bulletin board or whatever,
yep.
and they'll.
Yeah, I mean, outreach is gonna be a big part of this, so people aren't shocked when they show up or call.
Yeah.
So,
Will also open their eyes to, hey, I can get rid of this stuff too.
right,
Because
yeah,
when I was at our select board meeting and I was bringing up the fact that, you know, they have the paint program and stuff like that, and a couple of people were like, really? They had
mhm,
no clue. So
yeah,
it would probably open some eyes on being able to get rid of some stuff.
yeah, I'd say 99% of people that bring us paint don't realize that they could have gotten rid of it at any point by bringing it to Aubuchon's or
Yeah.
Lindenville Hardware or the numerous other hardware stores that also are in this program that can take this stuff back.
That. 'Cause they don't
No,
wanna
a
deal
good,
with it.
yeah, the store doesn't want to deal with it, but they are enrolled in the program. And people don't need to bring it to us. They can find a closer location to their house. And that's any day of the year.
Yeah.
You know, we only accept it, you know, May through October, so.
Yeah, because the one person that said she had no clue, she's like, oh, great, because she is gonna go ahead
Mhm.
and fill out.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, I'd like to then put this to a vote, and that would be proposed household hazardous waste pricing for general items would be $10 per recycling bin. No matter how little is in it. And proposed flammable liquid charge to the public at $1 a gallon. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Couple later. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Okay, that's.
All right, so we will switch to the reducing cost side of things. So we do quite a few household hazardous waste events around the district. They're held on Saturdays, typically at the recycling center. And I think we have eight are scheduled for 2026. We've completed those events in Maidstone, Corinth, Jay, and Derby so far. And so I see that we can, because of the turnout, especially in the smaller remote towns, it's a pretty big expense for serving a low number of people. And so I'm proposing here that starting next year, 2027, remote collection season, that we have a more regionalized approach to this so that we can have fewer events, but have them around the district where people could still get to them. And then, of course, people can always bring their items to the Lindenville facility. We are open every Tuesday and Thursday from May until October. There's appointments on the hour. We try to make it as convenient as we can for people. They call up, they make an appointment. All they have to do is tell us their name and phone number and how much stuff they're bringing. And then it takes, 5-10 minutes when they arrive for us to unload their items, and then they're off. So because of the low attendance and the high cost of employee overtime, And also it's a sixth day of the week that our trucks is running. It is a significant cost for the district, and I really think there's too many events. So a regionalized approach where multiple towns can come to that event. And currently, any town in the district, residents from any town can come to any hazardous waste event. It's not like a bulky event where, you know, for Danville Bulky, only Danville residents are allowed to bring their bulky on that day. With hazardous waste, you can be from any town in the district and go to any remote event. So we're not restricting it in any way other than you have to be a district resident. So I'm proposing fewer events, a regional approach, and of course continuing our numerous days of collection here in Lindenville for people that miss the events or don't want to wait. You don't have to wait for an event in your town. You can bring it here any week. And again, that would start in 2027. We've already made our calendar, and I think that the May meeting, you know, there was some concern that we've already committed to 2026's events, and so we want to see those through and then start with a new approach next year.
Yes, Chris, I'd like to add to the full board, when the executive board met a few weeks ago, there was thought and quite a bit of agreement on holding a household hazardous waste event north of Lindenville, one south of Lindenville for the remote ones for next year. And then, of course, Lindenville, as Chris said, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That way, everyone in the waste district has a chance to go to someplace that's fairly close to them when we have them. And by cutting down to that amount, it will really save the district, not only money, but wear and tear on vehicles and other things like that.
I think I've mentioned before, everything we do on a Saturday, whether it's a bulky event in a district town or a hazardous waste event, our employees that work those, they've already worked their 40-hour week. So this is a sixth work day for them. They're on overtime. So that is expensive. And then it's another day the trucks are on the road, and that's diesel fuel being burned, you know, usually to some pretty remote event areas. So it is a significant cost. So yeah, I think if anyone has questions on that, I'm happy to answer them.
Chris,
Yes.
ordinarily, these are 4-hour events, right?
Yep.
Would it be probable or possible to extend that out another hour based on the number of people that might show up at these events? In other words, have it a 5-hour instead of a 4-hour. If you get 100 people coming in at 4 hours, you're going to be crowded pretty hard. But if an extra hour is in there, it's another hour of overtime for the people, but handling the people that are coming in, makes the difference.
I think for Derby is always our biggest event, with the highest number of residents that attend. We would probably want to extend that one because it would be the northern towns. We could consider that if it's justified. I think we could consider that.
So if you're gonna do that, we're gonna do that, then you're gonna have to advertise in beyond the Caledonia. You're gonna have to advertise those events beyond the Caledonia, because a lot of people in my area, we don't get Caledonia much as
right. I mean,
the Daily and the Chronicle are big deals.
It is just like the bulky events. They're all on our calendar, on the website, but we really rely on towns to do outreach to their citizens about when the event is coming up, what the hours are, and what they can bring. So I think towns really need to participate in getting the word out. Also, advertising is extremely expensive. And towns usually have a good way of, it can be posted at, the recycling center for weeks ahead of time. Our calendar comes out like in February. So there's a lot of advance notice about these events. And we also use Front Porch Forum. We have a subscription to that. We put it on Facebook. We do as much as we can, but we also think towns need to participate in getting the word out locally.
Chris, I just want to relay Jack's concern there is that if you had 4-hour event, you wouldn't turn anybody away if they were in line.
So what our policy has been is that if most of our events are 8 to noon, some are 9 to 1. If noon hits and you're already in line, you are served. But we have to have a cutoff point at some point. So at noon, we just don't allow any other vehicles into the line.
You said Derby's the biggest event?
Yep.
Okay, so on a, how many people would come to a Derby event per se on average?
So we just had the Derby event last Saturday.
Yeah.
I believe it was 45 to 50. But it was also poor weather. And so
Yes, it was.
I've heard that that can get nearly double that in most years.
Okay, so if you expand that to do the northern area, it's gonna be
Yeah.
busier.
We'd have to probably make it a longer day.
If you do one in Maidstone, then you probably,
Right.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah, okay. It's just, I would assume
Yeah.
it's gonna have to play that.
I did the Maidstone event a few weeks ago and there was, I think, 19 people or something like that. And, so there's a fair amount of sitting there waiting, which didn't really seem cost effective, although I know it's a drive for those folks to attend another one. But we are giving people numerous opportunities to go to a remote event and also an entire summer's worth of opportunity to come here.
Districts do localized events or regional events?
They do regional, yeah. And the other districts, they usually pay the hauler that takes away our hazardous waste that we have to pay a lot to is called Republic Services, and they also offer for a large fee to do the remote events for you. And so most districts just contract with them to do their remote events, but it's extremely expensive because you're paying their trained staff the overtime, and then you're paying like a flat $1,000 truck fee, and it's a lot. Yeah.
So, are there any more questions on this? I guess I would like to couch this because it's a little bit nebulous, but I'd like to see if we could have a vote on implementing the reduction of remote household hazardous waste events to what Chris has written there, 2 to 4 events annually, to be determined probably when we're doing our budget, or to be next, something next year.
Yeah, I think we work on our calendar very early in the year.
I don't want to make it just 2.
Right.
If it said 2 to 4, I think we should have some leeway here.
Mm-hmm.
But
do we need to vote on it? Do we need to vote on it? It's only seems to me like this is a major.
Well, it's I'd say it's an important enough policy change that
I don't know.
that
Wouldn't
I-
we
And also,
we-
I think it's helpful to have the board say yes, rather than me say yes, and
Because
then,
I'm trying to
Yeah.
recall in my absent memory that I don't know if we ever voted on the things to begin with, so. You remember that, Gene? Did we vote on it? To have them?
I'd like to have someone make a motion,
So move.
a second.
Okay, please, give us an idea of what the motion says, please.
That the motion will be to implement for the 2027 remote household hazardous waste season 2 to 4 remote events annually.
Okay,
Currently-
Thank you.
Currently, it's 8,
depending on the year, I think
Yeah.
it's either 8 or 9.
so 2 to 4, to be determined at a later date. But no more 4. And no less than 2. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 2 on that.
All right, number 2. So we currently have a 25-gallon per person limit on the amount of hazardous waste they can bring us. And again, that doesn't include paint. But, people can get, if you do 25 times $4.64, and one individual can cost us quite a bit of money. And so I would like to propose lowering that quantity. And again, that's probably not something the board ever established or voted on. This was just something that was an internal policy in place when I arrived. But to me, that seems excessive for one individual to have 25 gallons to bring all at once, and the cost that incurs. So I would like to propose a limit of 15 gallons. And there aren't really that many people that hit 25, but some people, when we tell them that, I think they kind of get as close as they can.
I would like to see a motion so we can discuss this.
I would make the motion that we limit it to 15 gallons per person per.
I'll second that.
At hazardous waste or whatever, at the
District facility and.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
Pauline, second out. Discussion?
Do we do business with commercial enterprises like garages that have a bunch of stuff? Do we accept their materials? So would that potentially be a source of some of the larger amounts?
So we do work with small businesses. We don't we work with businesses that generate under, I believe it's under 2,000 pounds of waste annually, or about 200 gallons a month, or 200 pounds a month. So small businesses, we do work with, very few of them. And the fee structure we have always charged small businesses to get rid of their waste. And Paul was charging the exact cost that we were being charged to have it taken away. We would just bill the business and then they pay us directly. And I recently, we had a business that brought us quite a bit of stuff recently, and I looked at what other districts charge, and most districts charge disposal cost plus 20% to cover that staff time and administrative billing and all that stuff, which I think is fair. Because the advantage to the business, if the business called up the hazardous waste company directly and said, hey, can you come get these drums? They would have a large trucking fee for that, plus the cost of disposal. We are not, if they get rid of it through us, all they're paying is the exact cost to us, plus the 20%.
I'd also like to, just to reiterate, we're talking about household hazardous.
Yeah, this is the,
not business
yeah,
waste.
businesses, you know, we don't want to be overwhelmed with their material, and typically they're a small enough business where we are not. And as long as they're paying their full ride, I think we don't need to have this 15-gallon limit on small businesses.
Okay. Ken has a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ken.
The need for this discussion seems to be about the cost it would be incurred if somebody brings in more than 15, up to 25. Why don't we just change our cost ratio and say up to 15 gallons, it's $1 a gallon. Beyond that, it's $6 a gallon. See, I'm covering more than your cost. I'm taking your 20% there and saying, let's just charge them what it actually costs to get rid of it if they have that much volume.
Some of this is also our storage capacity. We only have a certain number of buildings that are explosion proof and for hazardous waste. And so this would help us make better use of our buildings. We're currently, we currently have a lot of material in our buildings because we need to make a shipment, but when we fill things up faster, it's not good for us. And I also, again, want to keep this as simple as possible and not have a tiered pricing structure. Easier for the customer and easier for the employee, I think, if it's just flat rate. And again, this is going to be something new if it's passed. So I think there's plenty of time in the future to adjust things if this isn't working out well.
Chris, I just got to say this. It feels to me a little bit like you should have the latitude to do that without the whole board getting involved. It sounds like a little bit of micromanagement.
Okay.
That's just, an opinion that I want to share. If you think it's better for 15, I'm okay with voting for it, but I think we need to be a little bit careful about not getting into too much weeds as a board, and give you the latitude to do what you think needs to be done. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's certain things that I don't bring to the board. I just make a decision internally. But when there's public facing things that we may get some pushback on, and I think getting input from all of the member towns is important, then that's why I have this one on there.
I'd just like to counter that with that argument is that by having these passed, I can go before my select board and say that the Board of Supervisors voted on this, and it carries a lot more weight than just saying our executive director was the one who did this. I think this should have been done a long time ago on a lot of these things and never were. And it's about time we start doing it this way. It doesn't take away anything from what Chris is doing. It doesn't negate his position at all. But I think it's very important that we're looked upon as a board that agrees on things and not 49 separate individual towns. So we're more like the United States, not separate colonies.
And I think a group decision at least gives it a little bit more legitimacy when we have to explain it to the public. And it's reported. That it wasn't just one person considering this change, it was, discussed and agreed upon and had broad support. So I hope support.
We'll say. Like to make a motion that limit the quantity per person to 15 gallons. Proposed implementation date is June 15, 2026. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously.
All right, the final proposal here is beginning in the 2027 bulky collection season that towns that elect to have the district on site during their bulky event, that the town would cover the cost of the district's employee time and a fuel surcharge to at least have the district break even to attend those events. There's the cost to the district is obvious in staff time and diesel fuel, but I think the way to look at this from the town point of view, and I'm on a select board, so this is how I would look at it. There's a lot of items that are being diverted from the dumpsters at the bulky event that are illegal for the towns to send to the landfill. So the district is helping the town run a, clean, legal event. And also all of the items that get placed onto our truck to be disposed of here, we divert tires. We'll take electronic waste. We'll take batteries. We'll take appliances. And they all come here and we take care of them for the towns. But that lightens the weight of the dumpster. And you're paying each town's paying by the ton to get rid of that bulky waste. So if you consider the cost, which, based on present wages at overtime, I put 7 hours there because typically it's an hour to drive there. You work the 4-hour event and then you have at least an hour unloading all those items because it's usually just one person that we send to a bulky event. So for that price, it's really, I think, a decent deal for the towns to have someone who knows Vermont's solid waste laws on site, diverting the proper materials and keeping them out of the bulky container. So
I'll make a motion.
Is that?
I was gonna make a motion to just approve this as designed. From a town who doesn't do bulky events, they should absolutely be paying for it. So I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Adam, since we're in discussion, Adam has a question, comment?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. For the town of Sutton, we don't have a remote event. We go to the facility. After our bulky waste day, are we charged a fee for what we've disposed on that day?
Yes.
Or is it already built into the budget? Okay, so there's a separate fee for that anyways.
Yes, we just got the invoices from All Metals who handled the containers on Sutton's bulky days, and we will bill the town of Sutton for that tonnage. Yeah.
And so this fee would be on top of whatever that not for people that go to this is only for remote events, but you would just include that in the fee for those remote events on top of the tonnage.
Correct. Yeah, so the town would be paying to dispose of the actual trash from the event, and then they would be paying a flat fee to the district for being on site to assist with the event.
Got it.
Ken?
Following our discussion of the board being involved in too minutiae stuff, should we change this motion to be that we will be charging towns and at the discretion of the office to decide what the fee should be? So we don't have to come back when it's decided that this fee has got to be changed. I think maybe we're just into minutiae here.
Yeah, as far as I did think of that after I wrote this, was that, you know, when we have a wage change, then that number is going to change. And when we have a fuel surcharge change, that's going to change. So that does kind of make sense.
Would the person
it could
who
be as
passed the
simple-
motion be willing to accept the change to remove those dollar figures and let that be at the office discretion?
I think that we should include the dollar amount, but with it being able to change, because I'd like to see an amount passed tonight for that to begin with. Rather than have it nebulous. This is a starting point, and not the finishing point.
And again, this is one thing that needs to be said here, is that towns that currently are going to have a bulky day, it's at the town's discretion whether you want us on site or not. Currently, the way it is, if there's a bulky event, we're there at no charge. So the town would be able to decide for 2027, you know, look, we think it's a reasonable price. Let's build it into our town budget. Or, you know what, we'll just have town staff on site and we'll do it ourselves and save the money, you know. So it's at the town still gets to decide. We're not forcing ourselves upon a town for their bulky day.
The way I look at it is, if a town is having a bulky day and they don't have your outfit there, something goes into that dumpster that ain't supposed to go to the landfill, and that whole load comes back to the town.
Which
They're
has
running
happened.
the risk of, it ain't gonna be just a few dollars. It's costing them to dispose of it. It's gonna be a tremendous payment.
Yeah. Excuse me. This is Paulette. How can we word this so that this is the current amount?
Yeah, subject to change.
Yeah, I would just word it that we would authorize the executive director to, I would think towns would want to know what this cost is ahead of town meeting or as they're making their budgets. So at or about, that time of year, just throw a dart on the wall and say this year it's going to cost X amount, or just if it goes up, it goes up, and when it does, just notify towns. Can't be too crazy. Then we don't have to have this discussion again.
Adam?
Is this something that could be set during our budget meeting annually so that it's set at that time, or does it need to be fluid?
I think we could have I could have a pretty close number if I make an assumption on wage changes prior to the budget being passed. I think I could, towns vote on their budget on town meeting day, and I think they need to have it usually by the end of January, warned and to the printers and all that. We could certainly have a price by then. And it's going to be close to what I've provided here.
Town reports have to go to print. That'll be approved. I know my mother was an auditor and had a Last of December.
So what is the motion that we have currently?
You're the vice chair.
Okay, well, because it's been bandied about, so.
You know, let me just add one thing
Sure.
that might simplify this. If we have it so that the cost to the town is equivalent to the actual cost incurred by the district to attend the event.
They can call to check.
And then that would cover, you know, we know what employee went, we know what the overtime wage is, we know what the mileage on the odometer is, we just bill that.
So
You
does the
know.
person who made the original motion want to amend their motion in the second, amend that, so that us. Paulette?
I'll agree to that, yes.
Sounds good, and who seconded it?
I heard a second, but I don't know who did it.
I thought I was the second. So who was the first?
Is it Jeff?
Was it you, Jack?
Jack has motion.
I think I seconded
I
it.
will second that one too.
Okay, yeah, and I thought Adam had something to do with it too.
Are you
Oh,
looking
well.
for the original motion? Sorry.
Yes, it was.
It was me.
It was Michael, I think.
Do you want me to amend it?
Yeah, I think so.
I just missed the end of your conversation a little bit. Someone, I maybe have to just pull my motion so someone else can make one.
Yep.
I missed the last bit of negotiation. Was it just at cost, basically, that the
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so same motion. Well, I guess not accept what's in we would do it at cost, and was it set a rate annually so towns can budget appropriately, and so for bulky day,
Yes.
the motion is sorry, there goes my bird clock. I'll make a motion that bulky days are at cost, and at a price set by the executive director annually, hopefully in time for budget season for the towns.
Paulette second that?
Wasn't it? I think it was Irene, wasn't it?
Oh,
No, it was Fran.
Fran, sorry, Fran. Yeah, it was Fran.
And Fran, you did? Okay, so. Would you like to repeat it, Chris? So.
Sure. So the motion was to allow the executive director to set the bulky day fee to towns based upon the actual cost to the district to attend.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to give a quick update. So I had sent after our May meeting, talking about how expensive it was for us to dispose of glass. I sent a letter to towns asking them, if possible, could you divert 5-cent bottles from your glass that you take in? And I know it's kind of another thing to educate the public on and even the attendants, to kind of another thing for them to look after. But I thought it was worthwhile, and I just wanted to see if there was any feedback, if any of your facilities had added containers, or maybe you're already doing it. And if you think there's been any change in I guess resident behavior with getting rid of those 5-cent bottles. Ken?
They're very excited to get the 5-cent bottles because most of the teenagers or anybody who works there wants the money.
Yeah.
So if you just say that, I am sure they will be happy to go through the bottles. But I don't think we get that many in Derby because we have quite a few areas in our library and And the Boy Scouts, a lot of them collect those bottles, so we don't get that many in our glass.
So in Westfield, we've been right along since day one. We've always got some totes set up in the corner, and people separate them ahead of time. So bottles, well, it's not only bottles, it's also aluminum cans, soda cans, and beer cans. But yeah, so we generate, $1,000 a year to help cover our recycling costs.
Go ahead, Ken.
We've been doing it for many years. We even go through the glass and the tin and everything we're going to send over to you guys to make sure nothing's in there. And we always collect the money, and we have the parents from the school help transport to where it can be collected, and the money all goes to the kids at the school. And our people in the community love that. They're sponsoring something for the kids. It's not allowed to be used on the building or anything about funding the teachers. It's just activities for the kids, like field trips and movies and things that they can do there. So our people love it.
Great. All right. Well, hopefully we see less glass. Plastic. We had a little pre-meeting discussion on this one that the price that we get for plastic is just about zero now. We do get quite a bit of plastic, usually a bag or two from most facilities every week. So, and it's on the list of items that are banned from the landfill. And so we need to continue to collect it and process it and give it away, essentially. But yeah.
Okay. As I reading this, I had this in mind. Okay, the state legislature did a hell of a job. They passed a law saying it's banned from the landfill. They never put a nickel with it, it amounted to nothing. It wasn't in the beginning, and I bitched about it. Now I'm gonna bitch about it again. If I would be, I'm not sure who's in charge, but I would certainly be bugging somebody, and a lot of somebody sit down. I would hit the environmental people. I would hit the whatever agency out there that controls it.
Yeah, it's one of those things we just have to kind of grin and bear it, because we have to do it by law, but the lawmakers didn't set up a system for us to capture our costs, for sure.
Could you have people please speak up? Because a lot of us can't hear what they're saying.
It seems to me that we've fought this battle for the last 30 years that I know of. Trying to get a legislature to put a nickel on. And I have two daughters that live up in Maine, and everything that they sell up there, liquor has got 15 cents. Then soda, the cans, even the little plastic boxes are charged, and they take them back. I don't understand why our legislature is dragging their feet, except they get a tremendous pushback from the wholesalers and the warehouse.
Yeah, the lobbyists.
The beverage industry certainly lobbied against any significant changes to the bottle bill, and
On that,
especially the volume of wine bottles that we get. With our glass disposal, we're paying a flat trucking fee, but we also pay $54 a ton to get rid of the glass. And wine bottles make up a significant portion of that weight, and there's no deposit on them.
On that note, people need to put in the paper and just contact the legislators, because there's more of us than there are the lobbyists. If we push back.
Yeah, but they got more money than we have.
I think it might be a good idea. Maybe before the next legislative session, I can draft a letter and then send it from the board. If we're concerned about this.
they shouldn't be pushing things onto us that they're not funding.
Mhm.
If they took it out of their pocket and put it at the local level,
Chris,
it's just shifting the cost.
Yeah.
But
you have it down, put your money where your mouth is.
Mhm.
You have a district managers group,
Mhm.
that's the one that the letter.
Yeah.
come from.
There's been discussion and yeah,
Wow, but that would have,
I agree.
that's statewide,
Yep.
that would,
Well, if in the future we had a motion that was endorsed by all 49 towns
Hmm.
and was sent there, they could see that there was the backing of at least 49 towns of having something done to rectify the problem that we're in.
Yep.
okay, they're always famous, legislature has been always been famous for taking rules and passing legislation that costs money, but never putting any money where their mouth is, right, Jack?
Okay. Going on to number 5, financial and operational update.
Oh, can I ask a question about the glass? Sorry.
Yep. Sure.
What's stopping us from just trucking it over to New Hampshire and throwing it in the landfill over there? Like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. We're sending it across borders. Why don't we tell the state, screw you, there's nowhere to send it. We're going to just dump it in New Hampshire where it's allowed. And that sends a message like, it's going to a landfill. Sorry. Like, I don't understand why we're spending so much money on this. It should just be treated like trash. I get it. We can't take it to the landfill, but why don't we just send it to Bethlehem? I mean, they'll lay a truck over there and dump it right in.
Yeah, I'd have to look into the legality of that.
Dump it on.
And then we might just get hit on the trucking fees more than we're dealing with it now, because when there's no market, we're paying the trucking from All Metals to get it back to their facility, and then the weight fee. So I think if we brought it across the river, which would probably be further, it would just cost us more. Even if it's even legal. Yeah, I would have to look into that. Ken?
You've been telling us for the last few months that the amount of money we are getting for the materials we are shipping out has been decreasing. Is this a problem of supply and demand, where the country is finally learning how to recycle, but the people who need recycling materials are not increasing? Is that what's going on? Why are the prices going down?
Well, there's been excess supply, is one of the problems. I think it was about 2019 or 2020. China shut off all incoming recyclable items. And so that was one of the biggest customers for recycled materials was China. And when China closed their doors, all that material is now on the US market. So that depressed prices. Demand, as I mentioned in the for like cardboard stuff, demand for cardboard boxes has been dropping. So therefore the price we get for our cardboard has gone down. There's been a little bit of an increase in the last month. Not dramatic, but a little bit. So maybe that's turning the corner. I don't know. And then with plastic specifically, manufacturers of new plastic containers have a choice between using recycled material to make new containers, or buying what they call virgin resin, which is making it from the bottle for the first time, making it with new materials. And the price of the resin is so cheap right now that they don't want to buy dirty recycled plastic to make new bottles. They'd rather use the new resin. And so that market is low. So it truly is a supply and demand. You know, we recycle because we see its value with diverting from the landfill and things not all being treated as trash. But businesses see it as a business decision, and they're going to get things for as cheap as they can, when they can. And it's always going to be like that. The market determines the true value of things. And, right now those markets are depressed. So
It is sounding like in the future, wherever we're sending this cardboard, whatever else, it's going to get filled up in their warehouse and may tell you we don't want it at any price. There's just too much of the stuff around. And we may be stuck with this.
it's possible. I mean, I think with plastic, there's been, and I'm going to do a presentation once we find some time in one of our meetings to do it. But with plastic, I think there's been about a 25% loss in plastic manufacturing capacity in the Northeast in the last year because plants have closed. So you've got all that Northeast recyclable plastic looking for a place to go, and its value is so low it doesn't get trucked very far because it doesn't make sense. So recycling, the market for plastic is extremely poor because there's very low demand. The remaining mills have yards full of the stuff, so we have to essentially pay them to take it off our hands. And other states that can landfill it, they are beginning to landfill it rather than sell it because they don't even want to process it into a bale because it costs them money to do that, and they know they're not going to get any revenue on the other side. So everything they collect, they just landfill. But we can't legally do that in this state. So Michelle had sent the budget update for May. We had a net loss of $1,900. And we're seeing a slight increase in the surcharge income as you know, it's construction season, so we're starting to see that.
Vacation is coming.
Yeah, a lot more snowbirds coming back and more trash being generated. And then as far as operational, we're kind of in the thick of our hazardous waste season. That's taking up a lot of time. We're seeing more material coming from our town facilities, which we expect as the population increases in our area over the summer. But we've done hazardous waste collections, I mentioned, in Maidstone, Corinth, Jay, and Derby. We've done bulky events. We held the Sutton event here at the Lindenville facility. We also went to bulky events in Guildhall, Bloomfield, and Albany. And I think this weekend there's a bulky event that we'll be at in Brunswick. Not a whole lot else to update folks on as far as operations. Kind of pretty stable there other than the summer events taking up a lot of Saturdays. Any questions or comments?
Moving on to other business. Do I hear any other business? Hearing none, about a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Everyone have a very good rest of the June and see you in July.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Okay, I need to